Why does he always have to bring it in here? I shouted down to my mom. Oh, you know your brother. He just does that to get a rise out of you. As soon as I opened the door, the smell hit me like a punch in the face. How the hell does mom allow him to live like that? Anytime I couldn't find the iPad, he was always the one who took it. All he does is play Xbox when he's home. I swear he only takes it to annoy me. I always hated going in my 13-year-old brother Johnny's room. It smelled weird and was always dark. My name is Amber, by the way, just a few months shy of turning 20. I don't understand how his room is dark even at 1 in the afternoon. When I went into his room, I made sure I had my shoes on. There were piles of clothes taller than me. I was actually able to see the iPad almost right away. The corner of it, at least. It was under a stack of books on his desk. I lifted the stack and pulled out the iPad. I didn't notice at first, though, but when I pulled out the iPad, a book that was right under it fell onto the floor. It was a notebook with the word private in big letters written on the front. So, of course, I was going to look at it. I know, I should respect my brother's privacy, blah, blah, blah. But let's be real. If that was you, would you look? I thought so. It's human nature, and even though my brother was kind of a human, I know I should have respected his privacy. If I'm being honest, I wish I did. As soon as I opened the cover, my stomach got knots in it. The first page started with the line Street Race, May 15th, 2:45 a.m. I heard the squealing tires before I even got there. As soon as I reached the corner, I watched a pair of cars race by me incredibly fast. Lots of people cheered. A few gave me weird looks. It took me a few minutes to see her idiot boyfriend's car, the black Camaro. Mom and Dad are gonna be so pissed. My idiot took the wheel, and a girl stands in the center of the street holding a pair of handkerchiefs, one in each hand. The cars sound like growling tigers as the engines are revved. The girl drops her hands, and they're off. Just like the first race, they rocket past me. Amber won. That little jerk. His whole book went on like this. It was basically a record of every time I left the house, for how long, what time I came back, did I smell like booze, or anything else I was when I got back. It was shockingly detailed. Even worse, some of the goings were times when I should have technically been watching him, but instead snuck out with my boyfriend Joey. Uh-oh, that little sneak. I thought he was fast asleep when I would leave the house. After all, it was way past our bedtimes when I would go out with Joey. By the way, Mom and Dad, if you're watching or listening to this story, I love you both. Johnny is a liar and it was years ago. But back to this notebook. This was just page 1 and it got worse. So I may have gone out with my boyfriend late at night to watch him drag race town a closed off street in his Camaro, and I may have taken the wheel myself more than a few times. Again, this may have happened. You weren't there, so you can't prove any of this happened, so there. Pretty much every move I made for the past 6 months was in there. I would be impressed by how thorough he was if I wasn't so angry. There were even notes on John, too. Joey, a jerk with a bad tattoo, worse hair, but a cool car. I remember when he gave me a swirly in school. I still hate that guy. The more I read, the more creeped out I felt. Well, Joey hates you too, you little booger, I said to myself out loud as I read the book. I literally had my own personal stalker, and we shared a bedroom wall. My mind was racing. What the hell do I do now? Do I take the book and just act like everything is normal? My heart was racing. I felt like I was being watched. My only clear thought at the moment was I need to get the hell out of there, followed almost immediately by the thought of he's behind me right now. I can feel it. Thankfully, when I turned around, I didn't see him. I grabbed the iPad and got out of the room as quickly as my legs could carry me, closing the door behind me. I felt sick. Maybe from the scare I just had, or it could be the smell of his room. I swear I smelled something that was like sour milk that's been in the sun for a month. I closed the door behind me and took in a deep breath of non-gross smelling air. I looked around to see if he was somewhere watching me. Then I went to my room. I closed the door behind me and tossed his book on the bed. I looked at the book bag for a second and then felt sick again. I picked up my phone, called Joey. I had stuff. Feel like taking me for a ride? How about right now? Oh, my dad? He's busy watching some TV show. He won't know I'm gone. See you soon. I closed my bedroom door behind me and raced down the stairs. Bye, Mom. Bye, Dad. I'm going to Josephine's house to study. I'll be back in a while. Before they could react, the door was already closing behind me. Before I knew I was in the passenger seat of Joey's car. As we raced down the road, weaving in and out of traffic, I felt the wind rip through my hair. Going that fast made me feel like I was flying, especially since I was positive this time he didn't know where I was. Though every second street corner we passed, I was sure I saw my brother with that damned book of his. Hey, Joey, just a random question. If someone deserves it, is it wrong to poison their food? What? Joey laughed at me as we raced. Nothing, I said, still stewing. A few hours later, I was home, and Joey slowly rolled away. When I got back inside, my mom and dad were still in the living room. When did Josephine get a Camaro? My father asked me as soon as I walked in the door. Oh, it's her brother's. He let her use it. I'm going to my room. I didn't want to think about that right now. I just wanted to do my homework. I opened my laptop and set up the iPad. I was just about to start working, but I couldn't get it out of my mind. What else is in that damn book of his? Why would he do this? What are Mom going to do? Dad will let me off with a warning and maybe a light grounding, but Mom will bring the hammer down on me. That little jerk. I may as well find out what's in there so I know what I'm going to be in trouble for, I said to myself out loud. After all, the best offense is a good defense, right? Have you ever dug deeper into something only to really wish you hadn't? That wasn't he was just writing about me, and I can't stress enough allegedly curfew breaking with Joe. He was writing about everything I did, including when I would take a shower, how long I took in the shower, what time I left for work and came back. He knew more about my life than I did. He had as much detail about my daily life as he did about my alleged racing. Reading all this made me feel sick to my stomach now. I tossed the book on my bed and ran out of my room straight towards the bathroom. I made it to the bathroom just in the nick of time. I honestly can't remember the last time that happened to me. When I was done, I cleaned myself up and headed back to my room. I still felt a little lightheaded from all that happened to me. As soon as I closed the door, I locked it. I sat on my bed with my knees pulled up to my chest and my arms wrapped around them. I was just staring at the book. I needed to get it out of here. Not just now, but for good. I can't live with this little psycho. I need to get out of this house. Maybe I can stay with Joey before I go off to college, I found myself saying out loud. For a fleeting second, an evil thought crossed my mind. I should have Joey beat him up. But I also know that my dad, who already doesn't like Joey, would beat him up. So that doesn't help anyone. I was already looking at colleges now, and I want to go to the farthest one I could. But that will still take time. I needed to move out of the house as quickly as I could. At some point, I heard the front door open downstairs. The little stalker had come back. Oh God, did he know I was in his room? I suddenly felt like my room was a jail cell and I needed out. I tossed the damn book into my book bag and took it with me. I wasn't going to leave that thing anywhere. I figured the safest place for me to be right now was with my parents. Mom and Dad were in the living room at this time watching TV. When I walked into the living room, my mom was chatting with Johnny. He had been over at a friend's house playing Xbox. I don't know if he caught the glare I was giving him, but he hardly acknowledged me when I walked in the room. Hey, Spaz, he said to me. Hey, loser, I replied back. My parents both acted shocked when I sat down on the sofa next to my mom. While sitting in his easy chair, I heard my dad say, Look at this. I can't even remember the last time his princess came to watch TV with your mom and I. I just want to spend time with you guys, I told them. My parents shared a quick look from my comment as my brother walked out of the room. So, what are you guys watching? My mother said that it was some silly show your father loves. My father gave a look to my mom that was a mix of shock and horror at her dismissiveness. As they were chatting, I heard Johnny's door open and close. I closed my eyes and pictured Johnny rushing down the stairs with fire in his eyes looking for revenge. But it never happened. I sat there for 2 hours watching my father laugh until he had tears in his eyes over that show. If my mother rolled her eyes any harder, I'm sure she would have gotten a concussion. When I had enough, I kissed my mom and dad on the cheek and headed upstairs. I needed sleep. I crept up the stairs and past that little psycho's door. I went to my room, locked the door, and crashed out. I tossed and turned all night. The next morning, I grabbed the book bag and decided to get a bite to eat. As I left my room, I almost jumped out of my skin. Johnny was standing at my doorframe. In a cold voice, he said to me, "Do you really think I don't have any pictures of you out after curfew?" I froze. He pulled out his phone and showed me several pictures of myself behind the wheel of Joey's car and a few of me at the finish line. He went on to lay out for me exactly what would happen if he went to mom and dad. He told me that first, mom and dad would absolutely forbid me from seeing Joey ever again. They both hated Joey anyway. Then they would ground me forever, at least until I moved out, and they would no doubt stop paying for my phone and internet. My knees felt weak as I finally choked out, "What do you want?" An evil, shark like smile crossed his face as he told me, "All of it." He meant my money. Every dime I got paid. I had saved money. It was from a job at the pizza place and my alleged winnings from the alleged races. It was all the money I had been saving for college and money I was going to use to move out even sooner. My heart was racing again. I did the only thing I could think of. I ran, looking for my dad. It was 9 a.m. on a Saturday, so I knew my dad would be in the garage working on some woodworking project. My mom was in the garden tending to her roses. I had one thing going for me, that I was hoping to work in my favor. Johnny was about a half a step behind me as I ran down the hall. In a quick motion, I opened the linen closet door as I passed it. The next sounds I heard were a thud when my brother collided with it at full speed, and a list of swear words I would never repeat. By the time I got into the garage, my dad was there working on a birdhouse. He looked at me with shock and wanted to know why I was in such a rush. I was on the verge of tears as I got in the garage to him, but I was flat out crying when I got to him. "Whoa, whoa, what's the hurry, princess?" he asked me as I yanked the book out of my bag and showed it to him, trying to explain things between sobs. "I may have snuck out once or twice, but he is following me like some stalker, Daddy. I don't know why he's doing this to me." I half cried the words as I got them out. My brother entered the room just as my dad was flipping through the pages. My dad is basically a pit bull in human form. Very, very sweet, smarter than people realize, and protective. As soon as my brother was in the garage, my father gave him a look that stopped him cold. My mother entered the garage after hearing the commotion. My father and brother shared a long look. There is something my little brother forgot to realize when he was taking these detailed notes. Beyond how unquestionably creepy it is, I mean. My father caught on to it right away. If I was in trouble for breaking curfew, so was Johnny. His curfew was even earlier than mine. Of course, I'm sure my dad was less than thrilled about my shower logs, too. My father tossed the book to my mother, who told him to check out their son's hobby. He then told me to get back to my room and await sentencing. As I left, I heard him tell my brother that, "Son, you and I are about to have a conversation you will not enjoy." About an hour later, my parents knocked on my door. They both sat on my bed and laid it out. My mom was the one to give me the news. I was grounded for 3 months. Joey and I couldn't see each other during that time. But that was it. What about Johnny? Doesn't he get punished? Turns out my little jerk of a brother got it worse. He had his Xbox taken away until he cleaned his room and was grounded for 4 months. Thankfully, by the time my sentence was over, I was on my way across the country to go to college. My dad wept more than my mom. That's my story.